The UK Government has examined ways of attracting private sector investment into the modernisation and operation of its road network. Scott Wilson, Associate Director for LeighFisher, discusses the latest developments and what new investment levels are being discussed by government.
Strategic road network is going to see a level of commitment in new investment that hasn't really been seen since the 1980s. What that means is that there's a backlog of highway agency projects that are now all going to be funded. The government has said that there are 52 such projects. This includes big projects like the A14 Huntingdon Southern Bypass, which has been delayed and mulled about for some years, and the four-laning of the M4 from the M25 to Reading. But in addition to that, there will be further new projects which come from route-based strategies. There's talk about the A1 and completing the motorway components of the A1, improvements to the A303, Stonehenge is the location for some of that, and the A27 highway along the southern coast, and there's likely to be more than that in the future. But as every single corridor for the Highways Agency is going to have a strategy developed in the next few years, that will bring about new projects to be developed, and there appears to be a clear interest in the government in funding such projects if they have clear economic benefit. And finally, the announcement of the expressways concept is interesting because it really means that the A road network that the Highways Agency controls will by and large be uplifted to a certain new standard, which involves grade separating the entire corridor and dual carriageway where that's viable. So this will be an uplift over the medium to longer term of that network on a standard that really hasn't been talked about for some time.
And in terms of the Highways Agency, are we now seeing a new role for them?
Well, the Highways Agency will be transformed into a commercial company. That will happen in about 2 or 3 years' time, and as such it will have a more independent and commercial approach. It's likely to have more autonomy in terms of making decisions around staffing, around procurement. It will have the ability to form joint ventures with the private sector, although it's not entirely clear how much scope that will be. That's something that will come out of further discussion and legislation in due course. It could well see in such joint ventures relationships around the use of land. Organisations like the Highways Agency tend to have quite considerable holdings of land and want to purchase land in advance for highway improvements. But as it takes years to go through planning and development of projects, getting the best use of that land in the short to medium term is quite important. So that's one area of it. In addition to that, it will have a new commitment of funding over a medium-term cycle of around 6 years, starting in 2015. This will mean it will be able to take a more innovative and strategic approach to funding both maintenance and capital, and hopefully should be able to extract considerable efficiencies out of that, because the contracting sector itself will have more certainty about future investment, so it can invest in staff training and in capital stock, and in the long run that should create quite a few efficiencies and improvements in the construction and operation of the highway network.
And looking at local authority level now, is there many new changes there or developments?
Well, the government has announced additional money for maintenance, which should make a bit of a dent in the pothole problem that people identify. But the main thrust of the announcements has been the strategic road network. The government would like to see local authorities being more innovative and sharing their innovations, but there isn't a great deal of incentive for them to do that beyond what they may get out of each other. So there's a bit of a disappointment there in terms of what can be done for the local road network, but certainly there are some local authorities that have decided to make some steps forward in this area. And London, the Roads Task Force that the Mayor had set up and has made various reports in the last few months, is showing a new level of interest in roads and the importance of roads as both an economic asset and as being part of public space, and looking at new ways and having a new strategic vision for what that actually means for cities.
Scott, very much thank you.